What's up, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. It's been a little bit of an unusual week, training-wise anyways. And not in a bad way, necessarily. Simply put, I think after last Friday's marathon, I just haven't felt like spending a lot of time on the seat this week. I tried to do my usual 20K zone 2 session yesterday, just didn't really have it mentally or physically, stopped halfway through. But on the plus side though, I did get 2 attempts in at the first workout of the Erg Endurance series, the second one which went really well. So still a good week of training. You know, as I'm continuing to learn and grow in my own journey, one of the things I am trying to really embrace is that not every week is going to be a big week, certainly volume-wise. Some weeks are going to be down weeks, and that is okay, and that is what we need at times. So this is shaping up to be a lower volume week. Doesn't mean we can't get some good work in, doesn't mean I can't have some fun with it. And I think today is going to be a good example of that, where I'm going to try something a bit unusual, definitely a bit outside of my comfort zone, but should be a fun challenge nonetheless. And that is, I'm going to try to do 2,000 meters at stroke rate 20, and I'm going to see if I can crack a sub 140 average. So that would get me a sub 640 time. This type of session is not one that I do often, and aside from the 30 rate 20 trials, time trials that I'll occasionally do, I don't do a lot of low rate max effort work, and it's honestly probably something I should do a bit more of, since top end power is something that I feel I really need to work on. So looking forward to seeing how this shakes out. After I get this done, I'll take you through just a couple technical things that I've been working on lately, because every rower, from obviously complete beginner all the way up to world-class elite rowers, are always working on things to improve on. And in my case, there are at least a couple things that I know I need to work on, and so just thought I'd share what those are in case some of you might be struggling or working through the same challenges. So hopefully I'll have enough energy after this 2K is done to get to that. But first things first, let's see how this goes. Okay, so glad I did it. Likely won't try it again for a while, but I've never attempted a rate capped 2K of any kind before, so this was very much a first for me. It's interesting. I found this piece today to be much less aerobically taxing than it was muscular or weight room taxing, right? It's as if it felt like I was doing a lot of deadlifts over and over and over again. And so the muscles certainly felt much more tired than my aerobic system. Certainly working hard, but as I finished the piece, I wasn't, gasping for air like I would be after a normal 2K. As you could probably tell from the video, there are certainly a few changes to the stroke that I would not recommend for longer pieces. Most obvious is the excessive layback, right? I almost wanted to feel like I was pulling my handle up to my neck, and it was actually quite painful because I was hitting my collarbone. Now that's not, normally you shouldn't be pulling the handle anywhere up to here, but to be honest, I don't know if it actually helped me generate extra power or if it was just the illusion of power, but it's never recommended to really pull the handle this high or be laying back this far. But if nothing else, it helped me establish at least what I felt like was a pretty good rhythm at stroke rate 20. And then the other thing that I do a little bit, I do this on my 30 rate 20 pieces as well. And again, I would not recommend this for any kind of normal quarter rate piece, is when I'm at the finish, I will almost pause. I want to feel like I'm rushing a little bit up to the catch. Now, it might sound a bit counterintuitive because typically in rowing, you don't want to be rushing up to the catch, especially in a boat. If you do that in a boat, it can really negatively impact boat speed. And so usually when we're taught on the water how to row, we're taught to gather at the finish, send the arms away, the body over, and then come up the slide at a constant speed. And that works well on the erg too, certainly at higher rates. But for these low rate pieces, I almost find that if I pause a little bit at the finish and then feel like I'm rushing or just am speeding up into the catch, that allows me to use a bit of the elasticity or the bounce coming out of the front of the stroke or the catch position. So I think about it a little bit like a squat. Sometimes when people squat, they won't hit depth quickly necessarily, but they won't pause at the bottom and they'll almost bounce out of the bottom of the squat using the elasticity in their leg muscles, in their glutes, in that whole posterior chain to give them a little extra pop on the way up. So it's the same idea, at least I think it's the same idea. Almost pause out of the finish and then feel like I'm accelerating into the catch. I can bounce out a little bit faster, just a fraction faster, and get a little bit more power. So, long-winded way of saying there are some definite technical changes or adaptations that I do for these rate capped or these stroke rate 20 pieces that I would not recommend for anything else or for just day-to-day erging. Actually, it's a great segue. Talk about a couple of the technical things that I am working on. And honestly, they haven't changed much over the last years. It's largely the same technical flaws that I've had for a long time now, but I feel like I'm making a little bit of progress. So I'll talk to you about the first one. And this is one that I see all the time. I am acutely aware of it when I am making my videos and editing them and I see myself on the erg. It drives me crazy that I still do this to the extent that I do. And it's a great reminder that I need to continue to work on it. But it is making sure to get the arms away and the body over before the knees break. And so what you'll see a lot of times, especially in big box gyms or people who are very casually using the rowing machine, you'll very often see people break the knees and the hands are slow, and then they end up kind of having to move the hands over the knees to get back to the catch, right? So this is really common. I'm sure you've all seen this before, right? Looks terrible, looks really inefficient and really uncomfortable. Now I'm obviously not doing that to that extreme, but what I see myself doing still a lot, especially as I get tired and my form starts to break down in a piece, is I will start to break my knees and I try to get my hands away, but I have to keep them a little bit higher than I would ideally like. And so what ends up happening, and how I can tell I'm doing this, is that when I get to the catch, my handle is often quite high and the chain is actually rubbing against the top of the cage. These are very well designed machines. Concept 2 certainly did not design them in such a way that the majority of people would be rubbing the chain on the top of the cage here. So the fact that I'm doing it all the time tells me that I'm likely doing something wrong. I find that if I'm doing a good job of getting my hands away, my body over, I can keep my hands at a nice level height, and my handle goes, or the chain is probably sitting at about 2/3 of the way up the cage. So I'm not trying to keep it just below, I'm trying to keep it probably about 2/3 of the way up. That's the height that I want to be shooting for. Keeping the handle there. So you can see the difference now. Well, I guess if I'm doing it right, this is what I want to be feeling and seeing. And I know, well, let me see. If I'm not doing it right, that's what it sometimes looks like. Exaggerating a little bit, but you can see the chain is quite a bit higher. And I'm actually hitting the top versus this. And the way, low, coming into the cage, plenty of room above the chain, just like that. So that's one thing. The second issue that I have, and that I have been working on, and it's connected to the first, is I tend to get a little bit too much layback, and obviously this 2K I just did was an extreme example of excessive layback, but even on my normal training pieces, I tend to lay back a bit too much, which makes it, again, that much harder for me to get my hands away and my body over, right? There's more work I have to do to establish the body angle I want on my way back up to the catch. And I tend to lose a bit of connection to the foot plate. By lose connection, what do I mean? I mean that I can actually feel my feet lifting up. If my feet weren't strapped in, I would probably keep going and fall off the back of the machine, right? That's not good either. You want to feel connection, feel pressure against the foot plate at all points throughout the stroke. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to feel variations in connection. You know, of course, when you're at the finish, you're going to feel a little less pressure on the foot plate than you will on the drive when you're jamming on the footboard. But I shouldn't feel like my feet are lifting off completely. I should feel like when I'm at the finish, I'm a little bit more upright. Kind of at that, I know a lot of coaches talk about the 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock position. 11 o'clock, your body should be at 11 o'clock at the catch, 1 o'clock at the finish. I'm probably more like 1:30. Now we're not talking huge margins here, but you know, even just a little bit, being just a little bit off over hundreds and thousands of strokes adds up. For me, I need to feel like I'm sitting quite a bit more upright, and that allows me then to get my hands away a little quicker. I don't have to move them as far. I don't have to move my upper body as far to get that body angle. I can get a little bit more forward pelvic tilt, I guess, if you want to say, earlier on my recovery. You know, those two things, put them together. A little bit less layback, sitting up taller, hands away quicker, body over, and then letting my legs come up. Now, these are pretty basic concepts, right? As I'm explaining them, I'm realizing it sounds pretty basic. These are things that rowers are taught literally in their first couple weeks, month or two of rowing. But this just goes to show, even people who are quite experienced have stuff to work on. And actually my steady state sessions, the longer steady state zone 2 type sessions, are great opportunities to work on this stuff, because you're not focused on hitting a certain number or surviving the workout, right? You should have the mental bandwidth to be able to focus on technical cues and other things while you're getting that steady work in. And of course, you know, just the sheer number of reps you'll typically put in on a longer zone 2 session will just help build that muscle memory and that reinforcement that you need to groove the correct patterns and the correct sequencing that you're looking for. So hope that is helpful to some of you who may be working through some of the same challenges. And again, just wanted to show you that because none of us are above, you know, coaching, technical feedback. The moment you think you've got it figured out is the moment you stop improving. I think every day is an opportunity to get better. So anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox, but until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep chasing. Peace.